Coming up on KCCI 8 News Close Up, Donald Trump trying to crush any efforts from his opponents to gain momentum in Iowa and lock down his commanding lead. And Senator Joni Ernst arrived in Israel just days after the Hamas attacks, which she says to those who question aid to both Israel and Ukraine. And I sit down with presidential candidate Doug Burgum, his unconventional strategy to make the cut for next month's Republican debate.
This is Iowa's news leader. This is KCCI 8 News Close Up.
Good morning and welcome to Close Up. I'm KCCI Chief Political Reporter Amanda Rooker. Well, we are just 85 days away from the 2024 Iowa caucuses, and the candidates are working to convince Iowans to caucus for them. 1 week ago, former President Donald Trump returned to central Iowa. At his first stop in Adel, Trump received the endorsement of Iowa's top prosecutor, first-term Attorney General Brenna Bird.
And we need a new president in the White House. I am so glad to get to be here today to introduce Donald Trump because he will secure our border. Who supports that? He will fight the terrorists. He will fix the economy. He will stand up for agriculture. And he will uphold our Constitution and our way of life. So please join me in giving a good Dallas County welcome to our next president, President Donald Trump.
Now, that's not only a high-profile endorsement, but also a rare one. Bird is the second Republican statewide elected official to endorse a presidential candidate. Back in August, State Treasurer Robbie Smith endorsed Vivek Ramaswamy. This is also Smith's first term as treasurer. The latest Des Moines Register Mediacom Iowa poll found that the most influential endorsement would come from Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds, but she hasn't given one yet. And in August, Reynolds said she remained neutral. Since then, Trump has criticized Reynolds on social media. And the latest Iowa polls show the majority of Iowa Republicans support Trump. But some of his allies told me they're concerned about whether all of those supporters will actually show up on caucus night. During Trump's campaign stops in Adel and Clive last week, he put a major emphasis on turnout.
Well, thank you very much, and we're going to discuss a little thing about caucuses today, right? We're going to get out, we're going to get this vote, and we're going to be tremendously successful. And they say it's Adel. Please don't say Adel, say Adel. I wouldn't get that wrong for anything, not even just, but I really appreciate such a big crowd on such short notice. And we're going to do another one in a little while, and we just love being with you. We love being with Iowa. We're really talking about commit to caucus. Do you ever hear that expression? Don't forget, you have to caucus, and you're first in the nation because of a certain person named Trump. Don't let anyone tell you it was somebody else. Now, the people I introduced, they're pushing me very hard, but we decided to do that, and we wanted to do it, and we did it. And I made that promise to you a long time ago. You'll never be anywhere else but exactly where you are, first in the nation. Exactly 91 days. Can you imagine? 91 days. Are you ready? Are you ready? Wow. You know, we had a very bad thing happen in the last election, and I said, either we're going to flip it, we're going to get honest people, or we're going to just have to wait and do it. And we set a record. We did much better in the second one than we did in the first one. We set a record in votes. We got 12 million more votes. But just think of it. And I said, one way or the other, but the other we have to wait 4 years. Now 4 years is down to 91 days before we start with the caucus. And we're going to have great success. We won, as you know, we won the election twice by a lot. And it's not a Republican, I shouldn't be saying this, but it's not necessarily a guaranteed Republican deal here. You had other people win it. We won't mention their names, but they won it. But we won it twice, and we won it by a lot. And I sounded very cocky. They said, please don't say that again, sir. I said, how the hell do I lose Iowa? I got $28 billion for the farmers, right? 28 billion. You said, sir, you shouldn't take it for granted, I guess they would tell me. Please don't take it for granted, sir. You have to play your cards. We have tremendous cards, but soon we won't have those cards because we won't have a country left, We won't have a country left. We did so many things. I could tell you 150, 200,000. I could tell you 1,000 stories like that. But remember, to get this country on track on January 15th, you have to get out there and you have to show, and you call it the caucus. It's a big deal, it's the caucus. Defeating crooked Joe Biden begins with getting your friends and your family and neighbors to vote at your local precinct caucuses. You have to get out and just get 5 people, 10 people, get as many people as you can. It's just a show of force. We're going to win. But well, one thing, you got to get out, okay? You got to get out. Because you never know. Sometimes they say, oh, he's going to win by so much, let's not do it. And if 100% of the people say that, bad things, you got to get out. You got to get out and you got to do it. But we're really doing great with the primaries. We're doing great against Crooked Joe. We're up about 12 or 14 points in Iowa on Crooked Joe Biden. But we have to do that. So get involved. So text Iowa to 88022 or sign up at ia.donaldjtrump.com. So we'll get involved and ensure the victory that we have to have, because we start off with Iowa. It's a big, it's such a political thing. That's why all the people that wanted to change it, I said, you can't, it's going to become a beautiful custom. It's Iowa. It's a big political state. It's a very powerful, big, beautiful political state. If I didn't win it, I probably wouldn't be saying I love it. We love it, and that's the way it should be. It's a tradition. They want to break all traditions in this country. They want to break that one. I wouldn't let it happen. So get out and vote. We're going to have a tremendous January 15th. We're going to have a tremendous day, but we're going to have much more importantly in November. We're going to have it'll be the biggest event in the history of our country.
And Trump again there repeating false claims that he won the 2020 election. But looking back at 2016, the last Iowa poll before the Iowa caucus showed Trump with a 5-point lead then. But just weeks later, Trump came in second in the Iowa caucus, losing to Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Trump's senior advisors say they've beefed up their Iowa organization this cycle to avoid a repeat of 2016. And the GOP presidential field got a little thinner last week. Friday, Michigan businessman Perry Johnson announced he's suspending his campaign. And earlier this month, former Texas Congressman Will Hurd also dropped out of the race. Well, coming up on Close Up, Senator Joni Ernst arrived in Israel just after the Hamas attacks. What she saw that has her calling for aid for both Israel and Ukraine. It's been just over 2 weeks since Hamas launched a deadly attack on Israel. Thursday night, in a rare move from President Biden, he gave a nationally televised address from the Oval Office, directly appealing to the American people to support aid to Israel and Ukraine.
In Israel, we must make sure that they have what they need to protect their people today and always. The security package I'm sending to Congress and asking Congress to do is an unprecedented commitment to Israel's security that will sharpen Israel's qualitative military edge, which we've committed to, the qualitative military edge. We're going to make sure Iron Dome continues to guard the skies over Israel. We're going to make sure other hostile actors in the region know that Israel is stronger than ever and prevent this conflict from spreading.
Now, the day before that address, President Biden flew to Israel to meet with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and other Israeli leaders. The president vowed help for Israel while also getting assurances that humanitarian aid would be allowed into Gaza to help the millions of civilians caught in the middle of the war between Israel and Hamas. President Biden's visit to Israel came a week after Iowa Senator Joni Ernst and a congressional delegation arrived there just after the attacks. Ernst says they were on a Middle East tour to show support for the Abraham Accords. When the attacks happened, she described what happened next.
It was a very important delegation visit into Israel, and I had the privilege of leading a bipartisan, bicameral delegation. And we visited many countries in the Middle East to express our support for the Abraham Accords. Now we're 3 years into the Accords, and we are attempting to bring Saudi Arabia and Israel into a peace treaty. We met with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, felt very optimistic coming out of that meeting, but the next morning we woke up and found out that Israel had been attacked. So we were told we wouldn't be able to go into Israel. I had been scheduled to speak at a conference there. So we were initially denied entry. We continued to press, though. It was important for all of us, Democrats and Republicans, that we stand united shoulder to shoulder with Israel. So we were able to go in. We were able to meet with many of the different leaders in Israel, including the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. Yes, our first stop was in Jerusalem, and we were able to visit with a family there, a brother and sister who had lost their 80-year-old father in the attack. Now, he was not killed. They don't know the status of him. He was kidnapped by Hamas. Their brother, however, was brutally murdered in that attack. The father was able to distract and fight off the Hamas terrorists long enough so that his wife, their mother, could get away. So she is alive, she is well, but again, they don't know the status of their father. We were also able to meet with a number of Americans, and many of them had friends that were killed. One gentleman was coming directly from his son's best friend's funeral, and it was a very highly charged and emotional time, as you can imagine. It was very emotional, and hearing these families recount the stories, the horrors that they witnessed, the damage that Hamas did to the homes, the killing of children. The Prime Minister had shared with us a number of stories, the atrocities, and Hamas is no better than ISIS. We saw ISIS beheading men and women in the global war on terror. Now we see that with Hamas. The difference is with Hamas, they have targeted innocent civilians, men, women, children, babies, the elderly. It didn't matter to them. They were just taking out anyone that was in their way. So the devastation is very significant. And the way it was painted to us, if we think back to 9/11, when the attacks on America occurred, if you look at our population, compare it to the population of Israel, this attack on Israel would be similar to 40,000 Americans being killed on 9/11. Very significant to them, and the atrocities are beyond belief. We sat down with the Prime Minister and his advisor, Ron Dermer, and I don't think there was a single dry eye in the room during parts of those conversations that we had with him. You could tell he is very stressed about this situation. Every last one of them, whether they were part of the opposition party or whether they were the part of Benjamin Netanyahu's party, they all felt the loss and they stood unified together. And now they do have an emergency unification party that they are exercising in Israel. But it was very tense, and the Prime Minister did state that he would need assistance from the United States. They had used up many of the Iron Dome defenses, and so they will need to be resupplied. But he said he didn't have at that time a list of items ready to send with us yet. But it is something that we will have to stay on top of in Congress.
And like you kind of mentioned, we're we're being asked for resources. And so what would your message be to people who are hesitant to give these resources to Israel, just like they have been with Ukraine?
Well, it is extremely important, not just with Israel, but with Ukraine and other areas of the world, to maintain stability and push back on these authoritarian regimes and their terrorist proxies. So in the case of Ukraine, it's Russia. If Ukraine falls, Russia advances. And we are not engaging our own men and women in uniform in these fights. These countries are fighting. What we can do is provide the military resources for them to push back, whether it's against Iran and its proxies, whether it's against Russia, and hopefully not in the future, but push back against China as well. This is for our own national security interests. When you start to see free democratic nations folding, you start to see countries like Russia, Iran, and China fill the void.
And so this just call for action here, we need to support Israel right now.
That is my call to action, is to support Israel. It is extremely important that we enable them to defeat this terrorist organization. The fact that we have Americans out there supporting Hamas, this is not acceptable. It is absolutely not acceptable. We would not accept that in our own nation, the beheading of babies, the raping of women. It's not okay. And that's what this organization is doing to innocent civilians.
Still to come on Close Up, we talk one-on-one with presidential candidate Doug Burgum, why he's criticizing Biden's response to the Israel-Hamas war and what he would do if he was in the Oval Office. North Dakota Governor and Republican presidential candidate Doug Burgum returned to Iowa last week for a series of campaign stops across the state. He's here with us today. Governor, thanks so much for joining us.
Amanda, always great to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I want to start by talking to you a little bit about the Israel-Hamas war. If you were in the Oval Office right now, what would your response be?
Well, first of all, I just want to say, hearts go out to all the people who've lost lives, the Americans who've been kidnapped, the Americans who've been killed, the Israelis. I mean, this is a horrible act of terrorism. And understand we've got great empathy for the people that are going through this, but I'd like to say when I'm your president, this won't be happening, because part of the reason this happened is because the Biden administration, and you can go back to when he was with the Obama administration, has been trying to appease Iran now for over a decade. And then this summer, June, releasing $10 billion of released frozen assets in June, another $6 billion for this hostage exchange that we just had a few weeks ago. And when you put a price tag on Americans of over $1 billion per person, then it just endangers every American student that's studying abroad, every American tourist that goes abroad, every American business person that goes abroad.
President Biden has said that he would give a, quote, unprecedented package of aid to Israel while also sending humanitarian aid to both Gaza and the West Bank. What are your thoughts on that response?
Well, Hamas is not only a terrorist organization, they are also been politically the ones in charge of Gaza. So I think, again, it is super naive to say that we're going to do humanitarian aid, because humanitarian aid going to Gaza is going to fall into the hands of the people that are the controlling government, which is Hamas. And there's no way of saying they're not going to use that they're continuing to launch rockets using human shields from Gaza into Israel.
One of your Republican opponents, Ron DeSantis, has taken a more hardline stance of saying that he would not accept any refugees from Gaza into the U.S. if he were president, and had said there's a difference between Palestinian civilians and Hamas, but that all Palestinian civilians are anti-Semitic because of the education system in Gaza. Do you agree or disagree in terms of his stance on taking in refugees?
Well, every candidate has the opportunity to express their own opinions, and so I won't try to be a pundit about other people's positions, but I would say that we should not be accepting asylum seekers from Gaza, because it's impossible right now to separate who would be part of a terrorist organization and who might be anti-American. But for right now, I mean, we've got such a big issue with the southern border today. I mean, prior to October 7th attacks, 6.5 million people have come into this country as asylum seekers under Joe Biden. That's every man, woman, and child in Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Joe Biden's home state of Delaware, and the state of Montana. That's how you get to 6.5 million people. That's 6 of our U.S. states, every man, woman, and child. They're in the United States, and where have they come from? Over 100 countries, including individuals on the terrorist watch list, including countries like Syria, who are also, attacking Israel. So we've already got a problem. We may already have Hamas or Hezbollah terrorists in our country because of our open border policy under Joe Biden. We don't need to amplify that by now opening doors to have people coming from Hamas, where we've got known terrorists. Hamas isn't looking for a two-state solution that would include a Palestinian state and a Israeli state. No, they're looking for a one-state solution, which does not include Israel. They want genocide. They do not want Israel to exist.
And I want to switch gears a little bit to your campaign. I know we're running short on time here, but you made the first debate, you made the second debate stage. I want to look forward towards that third debate. Have you qualified, or where are you at with the requirements on polling and donations?
Well, the RNC will announce perhaps 24 or 48 hours before that debate who's qualified and who hasn't. But internally, from our standpoint, we've qualified with the polls for Iowa, New Hampshire, and we'll soon be announcing that have crossed the donor threshold. So the one that would remain was the national polling threshold, which we've made for the prior debates, and we fully expect we'll make that for this one. So we look forward to being part of that debate again. And we love the fact that as the underdog in this race, we don't run to the fact that everybody counts us out, and we're in, making a lot of progress, and grateful for everybody in Iowa that's been supporting us, grateful for everybody that is showing up at our events, and grateful for everybody nationally that's joining, taking a look at our campaign at DougBurgum.com.
And you did grab some headlines earlier this summer when you announced a largely unheard of strategy, offering $20 gift cards for every $1 donation. You recently remade that offer available to donors. Tell me a little bit more. What is that strategy? Why has it been effective for you, and why did you go with it?
Well, I'm a problem solver and I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a business leader who also understands tech, and I understand how online sales work. If you were starting your own new business online, you would need some kind of promotion on day one if no one had heard of Amanda's super cool new business that you're starting, and you'd say, hey, come to our website and here's the special offer to drive traffic. So we did that. People showed up. Our cost of acquisition was less than 1/5 of what some of the national political fundraisers said it should cost to try to go online and try to find new donors when people haven't heard of who you are outside of your home state. And so we basically did a really smart hack of the system, and it's been very productive.
Well, Governor, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Thanks for joining us. Next on Close Up, Trump versus Biden. What a new national poll by Grinnell College uncovered about the 2024 presidential race. Grinnell College recently teamed up with Iowa pollster J.N. Seltzer to see where the race between the two leading presidential candidates stands. The national poll shows a virtual dead heat, exactly 40% for both Joe Biden and Donald Trump. But 18% say they would vote for someone else. The remaining 2% say they're still not sure if they'll vote next November. Now, the poll also gauged President Biden's overall job approval and found 53% disapprove with 38% approving. The poll, taken between October 10th and 15th, has a margin of error of 3.1 points. Well, thank you for joining us for KCCI 8 News Close Up. We'll see you back here next Sunday. Have a great day.